So you want an adventure bike, one that can manage a few off-road excursions? It's obvious. You just buy the best one available right now, the Ducati Multistrada V4, right? Well, that's just too fast maybe, and you need a degree in rocket science to get the best out of it. Okay then, you just buy a BMW GS, right? $250,000 lemmings can't be wrong, can they? Or maybe that's just too big and heavy, it's super expensive, and it's just a bit, well, too BMW. Okay, you want a big bike for fair money. What about Harley-Davidson Pan America? Well, nobody said bigger is better. And besides, somebody broke its nose. Alright then, you want some proper off-road cred? What about the 1290 KTMs? They're orange and everything. Well, for making crusty demons of dirt videos, they'll excel. But they're just a bit too tall and a bit too kind of hardcore for most people. Okay, let's go down a level. What about a Ducati Multistrada 950? Maybe too road focused. A KTM 890 Adventure R? Maybe too off-road focused. What about a Tiger 900 Rally? That ticks a lot of boxes. Well, it does, but it's nearly as pricey as its bigger brother, and it's still too over-complex for many. So we're talking a bit sort of, Royal Enfield Himalayan then? No, that's too low spec and needs more go. So you'll be wanting a Goldilocks of adventure biking then. Something kind to your back and butt, something comfortable to ride at the national speed limits, something respectably light and with a 21-inch front wheel, something simple to operate and sturdy enough to drop, something with a real-world tank range, incredible pedigree and off-road good looks, and you want all this while being sympathetically kind to your wallet. Okay, the choice is clear. I think the ultimate value for money adventure bike is calling. The Yamaha seems to have filled that void pretty well with the Ténéré 700. The Yamaha is a bargain at under $10,000. Of course, that does exclude the destination, dealer and taxation charges, but you should still be out the door for less than 12 grand, which is a great value. It has a well-proven fuel-injected 689cc liquid-cooled inline twin-cylinder engine from its road brother, the MT-07. It also has a counterbalanced cross-plane crank with a 270-degree firing order, which effectively tends to make it feel like a V-twin in operation. Parallel twins are beautifully compact and should provide smooth delivery for off-road use and for poor conditions on road. She certainly cuts a thin Lizzie olive oil of a silhouette, being narrow at the hips and in her upper body area too. This all helps with the I'm a pretend Dakar rider image, as the rider is able to grip the tank while standing. You can say whatever derogatory comments you wish about Yamaha, but they do know how to build reliable bikes, and despite the affordable price, it has some nice touches like a proper rally looking LED headlight too. It has a double cradle steel frame for strength and a very useful 9.5 inches of ground clearance to help it in the dirt. The Ténéré has a 43mm inverted fork with again a very useful 8.3 inches of travel. The wide forks help resist flex and are fully adjustable. The linkage type rear shock has 7.9 inches of travel with a remote preload adjuster for quick adjustments. The brakes are taken care of with a wave designed 282mm front disc with a 245mm rear. ABS is of course standard and can be temporarily disabled for off-road use. Unfortunately, traction control is not standard, and on a modern bike I do fail to see why. The Ténéré 700 gets fully spoked 21-inch front and 18-inch rear wheels, which can be adorned with dual sport or enduro tyres as required. As standard, the bike comes with Pirelli Scorpion Rally STR tyres, which suit the bike well and can always be swapped out. If you mainly ride off-road, you can switch to something like Continental's TCK 80s. But most buyers I feel would want a bike that feels nice both on road as well as off, and will typically only go off-road on fairly dry days. So the stock rubber may be a good compromise for most riders, all things considered. In Yamaha's marketing material, they throw around a few insults to their competition by calling them so-called adventure bikes. Yeah, just stick to telling people the pros of your bikes and let your intelligent customer base think for themselves on that one. Wind protection is fair, it has a half decent screen and handguards for cold weather and brushing up against branches with. The handlebars are tapered aluminium, and Yamaha has spent some time thinking through the standing and sitting ergonomics. No GPS is standard, although Yamaha does make a big thing about what they don't supply by saying that the cockpit is designed to accommodate additional navigation devices such as a GPS or Rally Road book. Yeah, thanks for that, Yamaha. $150 beeline wouldn't have broken the bank, but whatever. And while I'm griping, the instrument panel has all the basic information, but it doesn't look like it was designed in this century. One thing that is good for a bike this size and price is its economy and range. It has a very useful 4.2 gallon fuel tank, and that can provide a claimed range extending over 215 miles per fill-up. Yamaha claim a wet weight for the Ténéré 700 as 452 pounds. It comes with a 1-year warranty, which really ought to be 3 years nowadays in my personal opinion, and 3 colours. For me, the matte black is uninspiring, the intensity white, which is red and white, is pretty nice, and the ceramic ice, which is blue and white, really looks the part and would be my personal choice. So this is all well and good. Now we know what it is, but what is it like? Time for a test ride.
Okay, so I'm on the 2021 Yamaha Ténéré 700, and first of all, let's deal with the ergonomics. I'm 6'2" and I can flat foot the bike quite comfortably. If it was a bit taller, I probably wouldn't be able to. And in terms of the seating position, seat feels a little bit thin, as you'd imagine. It's more kind of focus on that off-road thinness, but it feels quite firm, which I quite like. I prefer there's a lot of wind noise today, so I apologise if you're getting that on the mic, but yeah, I prefer a firmer seat and a firmer suspension because on a longer journey that tends to serve you better. The bars feel really nice. They're wide but not a stretch, and they're at a really nice height. They're not too low for long cruising, and they're not too high. It really feels quite nice, quite pleasant. And the bike also feels very nice when you stand up as well. It's obviously made for an equal kind of dual sport role of working well off-road as well as on-road, and that feels very nice. One thing that is immediately felt after arriving to collect the bike on a bike with 17-inch wheels is the front wheel. That larger front wheel is quite noticeable in bends. It's just like it's like a gentle kind of understeer, if you like, and it just feels like it's just pushing the front end slightly wide, and that's, you know, partly because I've just literally got off a bike with 17-inch front wheels and a 200 rear section, and got onto a bike that has that taller front. Now, I'm not going to do any serious off-road today, but let's just do this slightly unmade road and see how we fare. And I can say it's beautifully compliant. It's so much nicer than, say, my heavy GSA, which I've just traded, and it really feels quite pleasant. We get into some gravel. I'm just going to stand up. Now, I could go through there 3 or 4 times faster, but this is not my machine. It's actually a friend's machine. Another guy called Richard, who's very kindly lent me his new bike so that he can so that I can make this video. But I can instantly feel that it's very, very capable, and actually one of the really nice things about it is just how supple it feels. So this is user friendly. You know, if this is the kind of extent of your off-road use, and maybe you do some gravel roads and forest roads, this really would be delightful. It's you know, the KTMs are a lot more hardcore, particularly in their snappy throttles and their harder suspension. So you will notice that straight away with the KTMs. It's good if you're doing jumps and skids and wheelies everywhere and you're a bit hardcore riding, but if you just want something that's really very easy on the body off-road, I think this would be a really good choice actually. It's very accommodating. The throttle response is kind of pretty smooth and linear. It's not going to kind of snap your head off or anything like that, but you know, this isn't a 1200cc adventure bike, this is a 700cc adventure bike, and although you don't get quite the head snapping torque, what you do get is very usable power, very linear, very smooth, and of course you're getting much lighter weight as well, and that's always a huge bonus, I think. So initial impressions are nice. It's got his tom-tom mounted at the top here, and that looks perfect. It looks very Paris-Dakar, and you know, the clocks are a bit dated, but I'll give them this, they are very clear, and they're very you know, large numerics on it, and for people that don't see so well right under their nose like myself, that's nice to see. And you just want the basics of, you know, how fast you're going, how much fuel you've got, and what time it is. It hits you in the face very clearly, and most of the other information, you know, on modern bikes they give you, you're not so interested in, to be honest. So no problem there. Nice big gear indicator as well, showing them in 4th gear, and let's say it's a nice smooth engine. Let me just open it up slightly here. So it seems to redline about 11, 12. I'm giving it 5,000 revs here in 6th, and we've got 60 miles an hour. So, you know, for highway cruising at 60, 70, even 80 miles an hour, I think it'd be perfectly fine. And I think most bikes like this are really bought by people that want to perhaps you know, ride 50 miles or so to nice gentle off-road lanes, and then do some you know, fairly non-technical off-road riding. Now, I don't want to downplay that too much, because I think this would be very capable off-road, you know, and somebody with experienced hands. I think if the mood struck you right, you could easily kind of razz this a bit off-road and have a lot of fun with it. It's you know, my friend Jerry had a KTM 790R, and I love that bike. It's really cool, and you know, around a off-road track, if you were timing it, that would be quicker, but I think you probably enjoy the ride on this more, just because it's a lot more forgiving to the body, and perhaps the older you are, the more that would be true. So if you're a young guy watching this, 20, 30 for argument's sake, you're probably going to be drawn to the KTM. It looks that bit sportier and a bit more fun, and I'd say that's the right bike for you. If you're more kind of, you know, 45 to 65 say, this would be a much better bike for you, and it also has a good price advantage. The only thing that annoys me slightly is the lack of traction control. I really think every bike should have traction control, and for me personally, it's more important than ABS. I can quite comfortably control a bike with locked up brakes, and you're mainly going in a straight line with locked up brakes, right? But with traction control, the bike is usually led right over when you need it the most, and I think not having that is fairly inexcusable. But other than that, there's not a lot to instantly dislike in terms of spec. You know, I think it's a great value for money bike at under 10,000 US dollars MSRP, plus your taxes and destination, all the rest of it. It's a very good price, and I think it's a good looking bike. It harks to kind of Dakar look, this, you know, slim bikini fairing unit, and the headlights is very Dakar-ish, and of course Yamaha has very credible history with the Dakar. You know, they started with, you know, they produced an XT 500, they went on to produce the 600 Ténéré, the 750s, and with Peter Hansel rather, in the Dakar, you know, they won it a couple of times, so they have proper off-road credibility, Yamaha. Another minor thing I think Yamaha should improve is their warranty. Yamaha produce very reliable bikes, and I would have no qualms personally worrying about whether this bike will remain reliable or not. But what does kind of smart is that they only give a 1-year warranty, and I think that's a bit mean. I think they could do better, even if it was just the powertrain. So like Ford, for instance, will give a limited warranty, but the powertrain, the engine, transmission, clutch, will be warranted for a little bit longer. And I think they could do that. I think they could say, you know, basic warranty for electrical wear and tear or whatever, 12 months, but a 3-year powertrain warranty, because, you know, you're not going to have any problems with the Yamaha, so why not? It's a low risk for Yamaha is what I'm saying, but it would, in terms of giving customers more confidence, I think they could easily kind of say, you know, here's 3 years. So this is my turn here. So this is turning into a very pleasant ride. There's a little bit of play in the throttle, just off, fully off to on, and it creates a little bit of a jerk. I don't know whether that's a throttle position sensor issue. I'll mention that to Rich, and they can, next time it's in for a service, I would have that kind of checked out so that it's nice and smooth from the off. But I can say that, let me just stand up for a second. Yeah, standing is an absolute joy. Really nice wide foot pegs, nice risers as standard, really good ergonomics position. When you lean forward, your forearms aren't bashing the mirrors, and down kind of bumpy backcountry lanes like this is where this bike excels. It's a lovely bike to do proper miles on. I think it's very, very accommodating. Which way do I go now? Oh my goodness. I think it must be continuing up here, because that looks like a private residence. So there's quite a bit of gravel on these roads, and I'm not really feeling that too much at all. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, because sometimes it's nice to get the feedback of how loose the tyres feel. Other times it's just nice to know the bike is managing it well in terms of tyres and its suspension. One thing I can say is that even this early into the ride is that the front wheel is now starting to feel very natural and normal, and I think that's true whether you've got a 17-inch, a 19-inch or 21-inch front wheel. Particularly if it's your only bike, you get used to it and adjust to it very, very quickly, so not really too much of an issue there. Yeah, I think they could have got away with a 19-inch front wheel, to be honest with you, the amount this will be used off-road, but Yamaha's very keen to promote that this is a proper usable off-road dual sport bike, and so I do understand 21-inch. People would only bitch and moan if they didn't put a 21-inch on it, and to be honest, when you are off-road, when you want to go over that, you know, small log or whatever it is, I think then it will obviously be a godsend, and you'll be very glad that you've got that. So compromise like everything, and but I think most people would buy this bike because they do want to do a little bit of green laning and some fire trails as well as the road, and for that purposes it's a really nice compromise, so I like that. And Richard, who owns this bike, has become a very good friend. He's a very generous man. He's got a number of bikes in his stable, and he was kind enough to say I could have this as long as I wanted. I don't want to abuse that too much, so this will probably be like a half an hour ride or something, but having ridden about 300 motorcycles, I can get the measure of a machine within, you know, half an hour or so. So I think whether I had this for a week or 30 minutes, I think my views on it would be, you know, consistent. For reference, it looks absolutely beautiful here, doesn't it? It's a little bit chilly today, 59 degrees, but you know, it's almost absolutely perfect actually. Another 2 or 3 degrees and a little less breezy and I would be in heaven, to be honest with you. But it's nice. Let me just I'm just going to knock it down a couple of gears and accelerate just to see what it's like if we were overtaking a car or something. So down to 4th, open it up a bit. Yeah, so not too bad. It's a little bit, it feels a little bit kind of laggy, and it's not. It's just that, you know, I've just got off a 208 horsepower Street Fighter, so obviously that's going to punch you in the guts really hard. This took just a couple of seconds to really pick up, but when it went, it really went. And the other thing I can say there is the gearbox is slick as anything, absolutely beautiful, and the clutch is nice. It's not just kind of light, it's actually very slick. So it's kind of in between a heavy and a light clutch, if that makes any sense. So it's not too light. It's actually, you can feel what it's doing, bags a feel to it, but super slick, like it's just been you know, freshly greased. So I'm liking that. I think I may have gone the wrong way. So here's a chance to see how it U-turns. So I'm balancing at a standstill, complete U-turn, effortless, no problem at all. Chance to do some more balancing here, no doubt. It's down into first gear. Haven't got my feet down. Feet are still up. Feet are still up. No dabbing of the feet. Bike perfectly still, perfectly upright. Yeah, good job Yamaha, nicely balanced. Yeah, so this engine is well proven in the MT-07. It's well loved by journalists. They love the MT-09 as well, the triple, lots of character, lots of power. But I think when this engine was first released in the MT-07, it surprised a lot of the journalists. They were pleasantly surprised by just how smooth and grunty it was, and in a much lighter bike it could be a lot more fun. And the thing I love about this bike is, look at that, how beautiful is that? Oh, hope I got that on camera. The thing I love about this bike is it's not pretentious. It's not trying to be anything that it's not. It's just saying, you know, most people want a comfortable ride that's very capable, that doesn't bamboozle them with technology, and doesn't cost 30 grand, doesn't cost 20 grand, doesn't even cost 15 grand. I'll say it again, this thing is 995, and that is a lot of value for money, particularly as a second bike. But even if it's you know, that's your budget for your main bike, I would say this would make a great main bike. I think in addition it would also be very good, it would be very good as a commuter bike, because it's very, I don't really want to use the word soft, but it's very forgiving, and that means that, just see how the other half live. Hello sir, how are you all? That means it's just very easy to get along with. So you've got a wet rainy day and you're stuck in queues of traffic and there's a traffic jam and all that jazz. This would be a pretty pleasant place to be on an unpleasant day, put it that way. I think you could kind of get home and your limbs wouldn't be aching. You'd feel pretty relaxed, and you would have enjoyed the ride itself. You know, whereas if you were on my Street Fighter or something, you'd probably get home and want to kick it over or something, because it's a great hardcore bike, but that's, you know, that's what you're getting, a hardcore bike. You're not getting something very forgiving like this. I've gone wrong again according to the B line. So well, that's handy. So more U-turns. I'm just, you know, I'm a professional tester and I'm just showing you how effortless this bike does the U-turns. Yeah, right. So I'm not familiar with this area at all. It's quite pleasant. I'm enjoying it, and I'm having an adventure on an adventure bike. What could be nicer? I'm exploring properly. I'm trying new avenues and new destinations and seeing where the road leads me. And it's a great way to test bikes, isn't it, when you're on roads that are unfamiliar, because you soon learn how much confidence you have in the machine when you're riding it, rather than you know, just a bit of local knowledge is helping you out. Of course, you sit high on this bike. It is a tall seat height, there's no doubt about that. I think most people kind of 5'9" and under, it's probably not for you. You need to sort of sit on it in the showroom and see. It does, one thing I would say about the seat height is that it does compress a lot under. This is my house. This is the house I want to buy. Isn't it beautiful? I love that. I absolutely love that house. I wonder if I can stop and take a picture without them arresting me. So this is the bike with the blue accents. It's got some bark busters in here. So that's aftermarket, much sturdier, good for brushing against branches off-road. I love this kind of quad light system and this tall thin screen, very Dakar. Nice chunky tyres it's got on here. They are the Scorpion Rallies, they are the standard tyres in actual fact. Chunky, so very credible. That lovely CP2, as they call it, for the twin engine. A beautiful spot. Love this place. This is what I'm going to buy when my numbers come up. But nice. Let's continue with the ride because I'm enjoying it. It's a nice bike. Beautiful. So I was a bit pleasantly surprised there. I kind of said I didn't know this area, but I actually know this neighbourhood very well, as it's stunning. This is where all the multi-millionaires in Georgia live. Lucky people. I think this house here on the left is one of Eric's favourites. He likes the idea of owning the lake. So I think, yeah, this seat, I think the seat would be, you know, as a touring bike, you know, for doing 300-mile days, I think this seat is going to prove pretty hard after, probably okay for like 150 miles, 200 miles, and then it's really going to seem like you're sitting on a plank, I think. But that's, you know, it's a lot further than a lot of people ride. I ride further than that quite often, but most people wouldn't. And oh, you look like Ryan Seacrest. Anyway, yeah, I you know, I don't think everyone buys a bike like this to do 500-mile days on it. You buy an RT or something else, but you know, within the scope of this bike, it's hard to criticize it. Yeah, I mean, you know, a Multistrada's got bags more power, you know, a GS has got a low maintenance shaft drive. It's easy to kind of poke holes and sort of say it hasn't got this, hasn't got that, but that's really not the idea. This isn't a $30,000, you know, Technofest heavyweight, you know, adventure tourer. This is a bike that's a credible dual sport bike for people that don't want that excessive weight, they don't want that excessive cost, and they don't want that excessive hardcore, you know, ride. And what else is there in this category that kind of does that? It really isn't anything, really. I think they've carved out a good niche, and I know Richard had all sorts of problems trying to get this bike initially. The availability was just absolutely dire, and I think that's just because, quite simply, it filled a proper gap in the market. There wasn't 4 or 5 bikes already competing for the same space. It's you know, bikes just got to the point where they got too big, too heavy, too complex, too expensive, and Yamaha just turned around and said, well, what do you want? And somebody said, you know, well, just give us a basic no-nonsense bike that performs well, that isn't going to break the bank. And I think that's precisely what they've done. They've signed off on.
So as often happens, I get to a couple of minutes from the end of the video and the battery run out. These things happen. I was just summing up basically by saying, you know, Yamaha have identified a good niche in the market, I think, and they filled that void. And if I use a shoe analogy for no reason whatsoever, we could say that, for instance, if you compared, say, some Nike Air Jordans with some Balanics and some Timberlands, you know, the alternatives to the Timberlands are going to be too expensive, and they're either too sporty or they're hard on the body. And that's the bottom line with this bike. Are there sportier, sexier bikes? Sure. You know, are there more expensive bikes? Sure. You can spend whatever you want and you know, get a better spec and more toys and more things to brag about. But if you just want a no-nonsense machine that'll just get the job done, it's a good choice. It's reliable, it's easy on the body, it's not too confusing to use. It's something you can just leap on straight away and go at a reasonable pace, you know, certainly legal road speeds all day long, and a little bit beyond, and off-road. It's very credible. I think, you know, you can hammer down forest service roads and gravel roads to your heart content, and it'll take the potholes and bumps with ease, and at the end of the day you'll get home feeling more refreshed and happier and have enjoyed the ride more than perhaps somebody that's had to trailer a bike there, or has ridden a hardcore bike and it's been a bit hard on their body, or they've ridden a small light bike and had to put up with the buzzing on the freeway all the way there. So in that respect, it's a good balance, and it won't be for everyone because that won't tick everybody's boxes, but anybody watching this who thinks, that's exactly me, that's exactly what I want, I don't want to spend the earth, I don't want to be spending forever going through menus just to turn off the ABS, I just want to press a button like on the Yamaha, and I want a proven simple engine in a bike that's not too heavy and doesn't break the bank and will remain reliable for as long as I want it. And for those reasons, it's a good adventure middleweight. If you're buying for the right reasons and those reasons, buy with confidence. Once again, many thanks to Richard for lending me the bike. It's very generous of him, and you know, if you have one or you're thinking about getting one, then let me know in the comments below. All right, sayonara. Hey you, if you want to become one of the Ride On people, don't forget to subscribe. Ride often, Ride carefully, ride on.